Look, let me just say the thing everyone feels, but nobody says out loud. You're not bad with money. You're not irresponsible. You're not financially illiterate. The real problem is that the entire paycheck system we've all been using since forever is completely broken. It was designed for a world where expenses were predictable, prices barely moved, and your biggest splurge was a $5 sandwich from the office cafeteria. That world is gone. It died sometime around 2020, and what we've been living with since is the financial version of trying to use a flip phone in a world built for smartphones. It technically works, but everything about it feels slow, clunky, outdated, and frustrating. Here's the part nobody ever stops to think about. Most people structure their finances around the timing of their paycheck instead of the purpose of their money. You get paid, you pay bills, you buy stuff, you try to save whatever's left, and then, surprise, nothing is ever left. And then you sit there feeling confused, wondering how you can make decent money but somehow always feel like you're one mild inconvenience away from spiraling. A flat tire? Stress. A dentist bill? Panic. An unexpected subscription renewal? Emotional damage. Stay with me, because in 2026, relying on the old Paycheck First system is pretty much guaranteed to keep you broke, stressed, and stuck. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because the system itself has no chance of working under modern financial pressure. Prices change too fast, income swings too much, bills aren't stable, inflation refuses to calm down, and you're trying to manage it all by eyeballing your checking account like it's a mood ring that predicts your financial future. My name is Michael, and I help people understand money the way school never did. You know, honestly, school taught us how to find the area of a parallelogram, but not how to manage a paycheck without ending up in a cycle of stress, eat, regret, repeat. So today, I'm going to give you the system that actually works in 2026. A paycheck method designed for reality, not theory, not old school budgeting charts, not wishful thinking. Real life, real expenses, real chaos, real fixes. This is going to make you rethink everything you've been told about managing your money because nobody explains it like this. Point 1. Your paycheck isn't income, it's inventory. Most people don't realize this, but your paycheck isn't actually income, it's inventory. And the moment you start seeing it that way, everything about how you handle money changes. When a business gets a shipment, they don't just dump the boxes in the middle of the floor and hope everything magically ends up where it belongs. They assign every item a job, a shelf, a category. But when your paycheck hits, the average person lets their money scatter like confetti in a windstorm. You get paid on Friday, you feel that brief rush of, I'm finally okay. And suddenly you grab takeout, run a few errands, buy something you've been eyeing all week, and maybe treat yourself because it's been a long month. By Tuesday, though, your checking account already looks suspiciously thin, and you're sitting there wondering how the weekend somehow costs more than your entire rent. And instead of blaming the lack of structure, you blame yourself. You think you're irresponsible or bad with money, when the truth is, your money never had assignments to begin with. Just like a store without an inventory system would lose half its products to chaos, your paycheck disappears when it doesn't have a plan. The emotional cost is that sinking, where did it all go? Moment that repeats every month, convincing you you're the problem when really your system is the problem. If you don't manage your paycheck like inventory, it will vanish like it was never there at all. Point 2. Bills first, emotions later. Here's the thing. Everyone thinks they pay their bills first. Everyone swears that's the plan. But when the paycheck hits, emotions jump into the driver's seat before logic even wakes up. You see that fresh balance in your account and something in your brain whispers, finally, relief. And suddenly you start acting like those bills can wait a day or two when they absolutely cannot. It's wild how quickly that tiny moment of financial comfort turns into permission to relax your discipline. You get your paycheck, you grab dinner because you deserve it, you pick up groceries without checking prices, you buy something online that's been sitting in your cart for a week, and you convince yourself it's fine because payday just landed. Then 2 days later, your car insurance autopay hits like a linebacker and your stomach drops because now the bill feels like an attack instead of a responsibility. Not because it's expensive, but because you let your feelings set the agenda instead of your system. And this is where the emotional trap tightens. You start telling yourself money is unpredictable when the truth is that you're the one being unpredictable. That inconsistency creates this low-level anxiety that follows you around, making every bill feel like bad news, like your bank account is constantly trying to surprise you. Bills don't care how motivated, inspired, or emotionally stable you are. They care about being paid, and when you give them priority, the rest of your life gets a whole lot easier, calmer, and way less dramatic. Point 3. Automate your future so you don't sabotage it. Most people try to manage their money by relying on discipline, but here's the truth nobody likes admitting. You will always lose to your own impulses if you don't build a system that protects you from yourself. Discipline fades, moods shift, stress hits, and suddenly the plan you swore you'd follow gets replaced by whatever feels easiest in the moment. You tell yourself you'll manually transfer money to savings after payday, you promise you'll remember, and then the weekend shows up with its iced coffees, Target runs, and I'll just get one thing moments. And that transfer never happens. Not because you're irresponsible, but because you're human. Automation exists, so your financial future isn't dependent on how motivated you feel on any random afternoon. Imagine your paycheck landing and your accounts instantly rerouting money to savings, investments, bills, and spending without you lifting a finger. No guilt, no "I'll do it later," no internal negotiations. Suddenly, saving money stops being a heroic act of self-control and becomes the default. And emotionally, that shift is huge. It turns money from something you battle into something that quietly supports you in the background. Automation is willpower that never gets tired, never gets distracted, and never tells itself, "I'll start next month." Point 4. The paycheck split that actually works in 2026. The truth is, most budgeting systems fail because they're either too strict to stick to or too vague to actually guide your spending, which is why the paycheck split that works in 2026 has nothing to do with old school envelopes or confusing percentage charts and everything to do with giving every category its own automatic lane. Zero-based budgeting feels like doing taxes every month. Percentage budgeting feels like guessing. And the envelope method feels like something your grandmother did when bread cost 50 cents. What actually works now is dividing your paycheck into 3 automated accounts the moment it lands. Non-negotiables, future you, and life happens. 50% goes to bills like rent, utilities, insurance, debt payments. 30% goes to the future you account for savings, investing, emergencies, and sinking funds, so you stop pretending future expenses don't exist. And 20% goes to your life happens fund for groceries, gas, fun, random chaos, and all the little surprises that somehow always show up. Suddenly, when you're at the grocery store or out with friends, you're not asking, "Can I afford this?" You're asking the much healthier question, "Is this the right account?" And that one shift removes 90% of money stress. When your money has lanes, it stops crashing into your life. Point 5. Your paycheck needs a buffer because life is allergic to predictable. Most people don't realize this, but the reason they constantly feel broke isn't actually because they don't make enough money. It's because their timing is always off. Your bills and your paycheck are playing 2 completely different sports, and you're stuck in the middle trying to referee without a whistle. Life isn't predictable anymore. Expenses don't politely line up after payday like everyone pretends they do. One bill lands early, your paycheck lands late, and suddenly you're doing financial gymnastics just to avoid overdrafting. A paycheck buffer changes that entirely. When you keep at least 1 week of expenses sitting untouched in your account, bills stop ambushing you. Rent due Monday but you get paid Wednesday? No problem. The buffer covers it without stress, panic, or that "here we go again" feeling in your stomach. It gives you breathing room, space, and a level of calm most people don't even realize they're missing. And emotionally, it's a game changer because it replaces that constant low-level panic with stability. You stop looking at your bank app like it's about to attack you. A paycheck buffer won't make you rich, but it will absolutely make you sane. Point 6. Subscriptions are the termites of your budget. Subscriptions are honestly the termites of your budget, quietly chewing through your money in the background while you swear everything is under control. They don't feel like real expenses because each one is small, harmless, and marketed to you as just a few dollars. But a few dollars multiplied by 10 or 15 different apps, services, memberships, and trials you forgot to cancel turns into a full-on paycheck leak. You think you have 4 subscriptions? You actually have 14. You sign up for one free trial during a slow Sunday afternoon, and now you're paying $9.99 a month forever because you forgot it existed. Then your bank statement shows charges from services you haven't used since the last presidential administration, and you're standing there wondering how your money is disappearing so fast. That's the emotional consequence, feeling like your paycheck is evaporating even though you're not buying anything big. Subscriptions don't hit your budget like a punch to the face. They hit you like humidity, slowly suffocating you without you noticing. And unless you audit them, they'll audit your bank account for you. The truth is simple. Subscriptions aren't small when they travel in packs. Point 7. Your lifestyle adjusts faster than your income ever will. Lifestyle creep is one of those things nobody thinks they're guilty of until they look back at their bank statements and realize their spending somehow grew faster than their income ever did. It sneaks in quietly. You tell yourself you'll save more once you make more, but the moment your paycheck increases, your lifestyle sprints ahead like it's training for a marathon. You get a raise, you celebrate, you upgrade a few things, nicer meals out, better clothes, maybe a slightly bigger apartment because it's only a little more each month, and before you know it, you're just as stressed at $70,000 income as you were at $40,000. The worst part is you don't even notice it happening because each upgrade feels tiny and justified. But emotionally, it creates this illusion that money will never be enough no matter how much you earn. You start believing your financial stress is due to your salary, when really it's the silent lifestyle expansions eating your margin. Lifestyle creep doesn't care how hard you work or how big your raises are. If you don't control it, it will quietly absorb every dollar you thought you'd save. Point 8. Your paycheck needs purpose before you see it. The biggest mistake most people make with their paycheck is waiting until after the money lands to decide what to do with it, as if future you is magically going to be more disciplined, more organized, or somehow more responsible than present you. Spoiler: future you is just present you, but more tired. The reality is simple. Your money needs a purpose before it ever hits your checking account. When your paycheck arrives and immediately auto-splits into bills, savings, investments, and spending, the entire chaos of "I'll figure it out later" disappears. Imagine opening your banking app on Payday and seeing everything already in the right place. No decisions, no guilt, no moment of pretending you might save, but then spending instead. It feels like your money grew a brain. The emotional impact is huge because instead of constantly wondering if you're doing enough or saving enough, the system just does it for you. Your financial future stops depending on your mood that day. Once your money knows where to go, it stops wandering off into places you never intended. Point 9. Stop using your checking account as a diary. Most people use their checking account like it's a personal diary of every impulse, every craving, every "I'll deal with it later," and then wonder why their financial life feels like a plot twist every week. Your checking account shouldn't tell the story of your month. It should be the most boring part of your entire financial system. When it's crammed with 200 random transactions, pending charges, surprise fees, and mystery withdrawals that turn out to be you, it becomes impossible to know what's safe to spend and what's already spoken for. That's why people constantly refresh their banking app like it's breaking news. But imagine your checking account only handling one thing: everyday spending. No bills, no savings transfers, no financial clutter, just the predictable stuff. Suddenly, there's no guessing, no "did my insurance clear yet?" panic, no mini heart attacks when a charge hits earlier than expected. Emotionally, that simplicity is priceless. It turns money from something chaotic into something quiet. A checking account should be boring because boring means controlled, predictable, and stress-free. If your checking account reads like a drama series, it's not your spending that's the issue, it's your system. Point 10. You need a life happens fund, because life always happens. The reason traditional budgets fall apart is because they pretend life is stable, predictable, and politely scheduled, which is adorable but completely disconnected from reality. Life doesn't care about your spreadsheet. Tires blow, pets get sick, birthdays appear out of nowhere, and appliances choose the most inconvenient moment to die dramatically. That's why you need a life happens fund, because life always happens. When every unexpected expense has to come out of your checking account, it feels like an attack. But when you've got a dedicated fund sitting there waiting for chaos, those surprises stop feeling personal. Need an emergency plumber? Covered. Last-minute trip for a family situation? Covered. Your emotional state stops swinging every time something breaks because the money is already set aside for exactly this reason. And the real magic is how much calmer you feel knowing you're not one inconvenience away from spiraling. The punchline is simple. You can't control life, but you can control how prepared you are for the mess it brings. So where does all of this leave you? Pretty simple, actually. The paycheck system that works in 2026 isn't about discipline, motivation, or trying harder. It's about designing your money to move automatically in the direction you want your life to go. Your bills get handled, your future gets funded, your lifestyle stays reasonable, and your stress starts evaporating because your money finally has structure. You stop waking up wondering, where did all my money go? And start realizing, oh, I finally know exactly where everything is. This system doesn't just make you better with money, it makes your life quieter, simpler, calmer. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Financial peace isn't about being rich, it's about being in control. You don't need to look rich, you need to stop being stressed.